Sri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Sri Sadguru Paramatmane Namaha. Sarva Maharshibhyo Namaha. Yat Sankhyaih Prapyate Sthanam Tadyogairapi Gamyate Ekam Sankhyam Cha Yogam Cha Yah Pasyati Sapasyati. Substance. That state, moksha, reached by the men of knowledge, is also reached by the men of action, karma yogis. He who sees the oneness of gnana and karma really sees. Commentary. The Lord reiterates the unity of gnana yoga and karma yoga in regard to the ultimate goal. The wise man sees the truth behind each sadhana and knows that though they are outwardly different, they are leading to the same consummation. It is only the ignorant who imagine that one path is superior to the other. These paths are intended to serve the needs of different aspirants born with different tendencies and previous samskaras. One can reach any part of the globe by going east or west. Similarly, one can reach the spiritual goal by any way. The harmonization of different systems and creeds is the purpose of the Gita. At every step, the teacher of the Gita insists on the fact that the goal is the same and explains the different paths from that standpoint. Hence, the Gita is universal in its appeal to all mankind. Question. Who is the wise man? Answer. The sage who knows that Gnana Yoga and Karma Yoga lead to the same state, moksha, is the wise man. Unless the mind is purified by Karma Yoga, firmness in Gnana is not possible. Sanyasastu Mahabaho Dukkhamaptum Ayogataha Yoga Yukto Munir Brahma Nachirena Adhigacchati. Sixth Shloka. Substance. O Arjuna, but renunciation is difficult to attain without the yoga of action. The sage who is harmonized in yoga quickly goes to Brahman. Commentary. It is stated here that without the aid of karma yoga, final renunciation and the realization of the self is not possible. That is, perfection in karma yoga, doing work without desire and attachment, surrendering the fruits to the Lord, is absolutely necessary to rise to the plane of pure knowledge. Certainly, it is not an easy task to remain established in Brahman without outward pulls and pressures of the objective world. All the bad samskaras have to be overcome, and they cannot be overcome except by righteous action and desireless performance of good work. And Karma Yoga is therefore the elementary course, and Gnana Yoga is the higher course. Unless the foundation of Karma Yoga is strongly laid, the superstructure of Gnana cannot stand for a minute. How can anyone hope to remain fixed in the Atmic state when the mind is impure and drawn to the objective world in 100 ways? Let the mind be purified first. Hence the Lord insists on Karma Yoga for all seekers. Out of compassion, the Lord explains the natural sequence and graded progress of spiritual laws. Sage means from the word muni, contemplator. We understand that the seeker should also contemplate on the Supreme, besides the practice of Karma Yoga. In this manner, the Lord prescribes Karma Marga and self surrender to the Divine as the natural evolution of spiritual life. It is of no use to take to Sanyasa by a formal renunciation of action. Purity and sinlessness are the characteristic features of Sanyasa. Without acquiring them, if a man adopts sannyasa by some accidental calamity or suffering, he would suffer ignominious failure in the attempt. Such men are deprived of the benefits of karma and gnana. Acquire purity through nishkama karma, surrender to God, learn the secret of action, and you can quickly reach Brahman. This is the Lord's message. Question. When can Gnana Yoga be realized? Answer. After perfection is attained in Karma Yoga. Question. How can one reach Brahman quickly? Answer. The Karma Yogi who has purified his mind reaches Brahman quickly. The Karma Yoga of self control is not tainted by action. Seventh Sloka. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriyaha Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvannapi na lipyate. Substance. He who is devoted to the yoga of action with heart purified, with mind controlled and senses subdued through acting is not tainted. Commentary. The Lord describes the qualities of the man who is continuously acting but who is not tainted by sin in any way. Performance of Nishkama Karma, purity of heart, conquest of mind, surrendering the senses, perception of the oneself in all beings. These are the characteristics of the man of perfect wisdom. From this, we understand that the Karma Yogi and Gnana Yogi look alike in the final stages of spiritual life. If one possesses these five qualities, he is not tainted by his work in any way. If action is done for selfish purposes, with an impure mind and heart and slavery to the senses, then such action binds man to the wheel of samsara. The perception of one's supreme self in himself and in all beings leads to the aspirant to the realization of the unity of all things. For such a man, there cannot be any hatred of others, no desire to injure others for his own profit, no envy and jealousy, no competitive spirit, no mental hurry to go ahead of every other man, as we find in the practical world. The seeker should cultivate these qualities with all sincerity and devotion. Nothing can then bind him. Question. Who is the man not tainted by action? Answer. The yogi who performs nishkama karma, who has purified his heart, who has controlled his mind, who has subdued the senses, who sees the oneself in himself and in all beings, is not tainted by action. How the wise man looks upon all his actions is described in two verses. 8th Sloka. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvarit pasyan shrunvan shrishan jikran ashnan gachan swapan swasan. 9th Sloka. Pralapan vishrujan krishnan nimishan. Nimishan api. Indriyan indriyarteshu vartante iti dharayan. Substance. The harmonized yogi who knows the essence of things thinks, I do nothing. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, speaking, giving, grasping, opening and closing the eyelids even. He is convinced that the senses move among the objects of the senses. Commentary. The attitude of the man of perfect knowledge is explained here. Atma is the witness of all phenomena, just as the sun is only a witness of the various human actions that take place in the light that he sheds, just as the lamp is only a witness of the actions taking place in its light. Atma is just a witness of the activities of the body, the senses, the mind, which take place by his all-pervading life force. It remains untainted by them, even pure and ever perfect. To realize one's own identity with Atma is perfection of knowledge. In fact, there is only Atma, and the apparent existence of the individual self is fiction. It is non-existent and yet appears to exist. Ignorance, avidya, covers up the reality and has imposed a fictitious sense of separateness on man. And so he thinks of himself as Jiva, separate from Paramatma. It is like the wave imagining itself to be separate from the ocean. The Jiva, having imagined that he is a separate entity, identifies himself with the body, senses, and mind. When the bodily organs are moving and acting, When the mind thinks and feels, he thinks that he is thinking and feeling. When the senses function in their own respective sense objects, he thinks that he is functioning. This body identification is caused by ignorance. By spiritual sadhana and knowledge, the wise man discovers the tremendous error of body identification, Dehatma Buddhi, and regains his original state of Atma. When Dehatma Buddhi is removed, Atma Buddhi is achieved. In that state, the body, senses, and mind and all their functions and actions are perceived as distinctly separate from the self. Pretensions to gnana is a dangerous tendency. Since Atma is beyond all laws and since the Jiva is no other than Atma, it is quite possible for pretenders to be plunged in the mire of sense pleasures and yet claim immunity from them by simply repeating the slogan, I do not nothing, I do not do anything. The Lord has declared the conditions of gnana with perfect clarity. The gnani who could say, do not do anything, should be the one whose heart is purified, Vishuddhatma, and whose senses are subdued, Jitendriyaha. Of what avail is it to say, I do not do anything, when at every step one is identifying himself with all the pleasures of the body and the senses? Let the seeker carry out a thorough search into their own hearts and find out taints and blemishes of lust, greed, and hatred. Let these sins be purified first through Vishuddha, through Nishkama Karma, and then only the seekers would be fit to enter the plane of pure knowledge of the self. From tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, and from sattva to pure sattva, from the lower to the higher, the seeker has to rise gradually. One who has reached the state of pure sattva cannot be drawn by the senses to indulge in the common pleasures of the body. His mind cannot dwell on worldly matters. His words do not smack of worldliness in any manner. In word, thought, and deed he is pure. Nay, purity is his nature. He lives constantly in the light and bliss of Brahman, and never more shall he be diverted by the illusion of worldly enjoyment. Would a man who has awakened from his sleep think of and run after the pleasures of the dream? He knows that they are false and delusive. So would the Gnani understand that all the pleasures which he had in the past were only the reflections of a mirage, and he has been fooled too frequently by mistaking the apparent to be the real. So he is careful to remain steadfast in the self. It is only such a man of self knowledge who can say, I do not do anything. Such men have done great work for the good of humanity without the least trace of personal doership. So, first of all, by the practice of Nishkama Karma, devotion to God, Dhyana, the heart should be purified and the self should be realized through direct experience. Then, whether he works or not, he is not bound in any way. The mind, like a burnt seed, is void of producing any reactions. He sees and knows that the whole of the phenomenal world and all his actions in it are only dramatic performance taking place in his presence, while he remains only a spectator. Question: what is the attitude of the sage of wisdom towards the bodily and mental activities? Answer: he knows that the senses move in the sense world and he has the clear idea, I do not do anything.